Hey guys, it's Gary from Gary's Place. Welcome to Gary's Place. This is Gary's Place. Wanted to go ahead and get this swapped out now that I got what I think is all the bugs worked out of my little setup here. I'm not going to bore you with all the takedown of this. Probably going to do this in a few segments just so you know there'll be a little bit of jumping around. I've done a few videos like this in the past. I've got my mount up on my printer here for my camera, so hopefully you guys are getting a good view here. Basically what I'm looking at is I'm going to be replacing this fang with a different setup because as much as I like the way this looks and I like the setup, it doesn't seem to be performing the way I needed it to. At least I was having some issues with stringing, and I couldn't keep my full retraction settings because this E3D V6 clone kept jamming up on me. I think my issue is heat creep. You know, the sad thing is now that I've got all the bugs worked out of this, I was actually able to push my retraction settings to 5mm, which actually wasn't printing too bad. So unfortunately, right at the end, the thing decided to start working decently for me, but I don't trust it in the long run, and I think this this new setup's going to give me a little bit better cooling, and hopefully you know, get rid of this heat creep problem altogether, so I can get my retraction settings back to where they need to be, and you know, get this thing printing as well as it was before. Now, granted, I pushed this to a 0.6mm nozzle, and I mean, I'm probably printing, you know, my prints are taking about a quarter of the time that they were taken before, and the quality's really not really suffered much from that. Again, this stream problem's driving me crazy. And also, too, this fan, when the x-axis is moving back and forth, I'm getting a little buzz that's, you know, maybe I'm just being a little too particular, but it's driving me a little crazy, so I'm going to go ahead and get this thing changed out to this new setup, and, you know, basically what I'll do is I'll tear this down. Obviously, in order to get this apart, I got to take the clip off, take the bolt out, take the fan out. Then there's 4 bolts for the front fan. Pull that out. Then there's 2 bolts holding this duct on and the hot end on. And then, as you can, I don't know if you can see that in the picture, but this wire that comes around for this front fan also has this little LED on it. You probably can't see that from your view, but there's 2 wires here, and there's just enough length of wire here to get the LED in my little hole here I put in my plate for it. So I'm gonna have to pop that out, pop this through, pop that off. A lot of pop in here. But you know, so we're gonna get this thing taken apart, and then I'll jump back in once I get everything off here, and we'll run through installing what I've got. So I'll see you guys in a minute. Sorry for the segmented video, and sorry if this camera is bumping around a little bit. Okay guys, so I got most of this already torn down. Just wanted to make a quick note here. My mount here that I made, the way I designed the little groove here that this this hot end fits in, I kind of slightly, very slightly undersized it so that as you drove the screws in to the other half of this, it would kind of bite into the plastic, because I knew the plastic would obviously give before the metal here. Wasn't really thinking that my plastic mount was going to like crush the metal or anything. As you can see, after pulling that fang off, this is really solidly in here. I mean, I'm actually going to have to use something to pry this out. Just wanted to make a quick note of that so you guys could see what I'm seeing. I've got everything off here, got all the wiring, you know, there was a zip tie here, cut that, all the fans out of the way. I'm going to leave the hot end all together. I did retract the filament, just in case I have to go in here, but I think I'm going to just leave the hot end completely alone, just pop it out, throw everything to the side, and get this plate swapped out, and then I'll be right back with you. Okay, guys, so here we are. Got this back to bare bones pretty much. And I've got my new mount here. Now I wanted to make a quick note before I installed this. There are 2 cutouts for 2 nuts back here. Okay, in my last video, if you guys watched it, I already reprinted this, and unfortunately the new bracket that connects to it is longer, so my screws were too short, and unfortunately I didn't have any longer screws, so I just decided to make these cutouts deeper. Alright, now the other thing was I kind of wanted to fit the nuts in here. They do fit nice and snug in there, but there's just a touch of room for them to wobble. So I dry fit this and kind of crank down on the screws just to kind of seat the nuts into the plastic. You know, you can also heat it up. You can put a drop of super glue. But the main thing here is that those nuts are in place so that when we put this on and then we screw it down, we can make sure that this is a, you know, metal to metal kind of fit. So I've already got that done. Back the screws out. Now we're ready to put this plate on. I'm going to leave the video running probably for the rest of this, just until we get this on. Another note too, I just took off the old one, okay? Got it off without breaking it. But this is a nice snug fit, and with the fact that it fits around this bolt head and these 2 studs, and it actually grabs the edge of the plate here, it is a very tight fit, and you do have to do just a touch of prying just on the edge here. That's why you can see this mark here. You just give it a little bit of a pry and kind of work your way off. Be a little gentle with it just to make sure that you know, you don't break anything. Fortunately, this print didn't come out that great, but for my purposes, it'll work just fine. And if I have any issues with it, I can always just reprint it. So this is also a little bit of a snug fit going in. You want to make sure that you grab the plate and grab the plate on the edge, but this obviously has to be over the edge of it, and you got to kind of lever it in. So kind of a push down and then a push over, okay? And now the ledges of the bracket there are grabbing right around the edge, so this is already a really nice tight fit. And now we're going to add some bolts to finish that off. I did make it so you can use 4 bolts on this. And these holes are just at the edge of the thread, so it does feel like you're getting a little bit of a grip on the plastic, but it's not really, you know, like a tight thing. It'll just slide right through. And then originally I didn't make a clip to attach the bolts to the 2 studs that are coming out for the original hot end. I didn't make this until after I already had this installed, so I had some washers on there. Originally, I'm going to give this a shot. This is the, yeah, it's essentially like a square washer just to kind of grab on and kind of apply an even pressure in on that to hold that down with these 2 bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and get this thing tightened down, and then I'll be back in a minute. Okay guys, so I got that installed. I will note that it did, I had a little issue lining up this hole for this screw. but once I popped this one in, then that one lined right up. I did a little bit of a screw change. I noticed that these two screws were protruding pretty well out the back side of this metal plate. They weren't touching the extrusion, but they were pretty close, so I changed it from M3 by 10 to an M3 by 8, and then these are M3 by 6s. I use these cap head screws just because they have a kind of a flatter bottom base. You know, if you use these flat top deals, I think these are panhead screws, I kind of worry that they kind of bite in, and especially where this washer sits, I worry about them trying to spread the washer out and then loosening up in the long run. These should stay nice and tight, and if you really want to, you could probably throw a little Loctite on those, but honestly, I don't really think it's needed. I mean, the plate holds itself nice and tight there. All you're really doing with these screws is just securing it and making sure that everything is where it needs to be. So now I guess we get to go ahead and put this on. The creator of this mount put a symbol on the top. That's the side that goes up. You'll put the hot end in and you'll just screw these down. This takes a quick second, so I'm not really going to have that on camera. I'll come back once I get this installed with the hot end, and then we'll get the fans installed and see how she goes. Thanks, guys. Okay, guys, so big jump between videos here. Had another fail, unfortunately. My plate didn't worked perfectly. However, this mount that I printed out does not fit around this hot end, so I had to remake it, and that's why we have such a big jump between videos here. So also I had this thing printing very well, and you know, I'm not really talking a lot of junk about this vent, because it does work, and I have gotten it to work reliably. My problem is that when I get into some large prints with a lot of retractions, I end up with jams. And I think that's completely due to cooling and heat creep. So I took this hot end apart. I don't know if you can see, I've got some white goop in there. I don't know where exactly you'd find this. Maybe I'll look around and see. But this is a little tube I had from when I bought some diodes years ago. I didn't really use them to the extent that I thought I was going to need to, and they came with this white kind of grease that it's heat transfer. Okay, so you know, the diodes you would attach a heat sink to, and you'd put this goop on in between, and basically that would transfer the heat from the diode to its heat sink. So, and that's pretty much what I'm going for here. I'm trying to make sure that all the heat that comes up the heat break here is dissipated into the fins, and the threading here is kind of loosish, okay, and you know, so I don't think there's a very good connection there for heat to transfer through, and also to this vent kind of, it doesn't really blow across the lower fins. As you can see here, it's kind of blocked off on the sides and everything, so it doesn't really have the proper airflow to blow the heat off there. So I went ahead and remodified my mount here, and then I made my own mount. This mount was also too short, so I added this washer in. And then once I tightened it down, I couldn't get the hot end to clamp back in with this new vent that I'm going to be using, that's going to clip onto the side here, so it blows the air across it, and it'll be wide open in the back to dissipate the heat very well. So I have a lot of hopes here. I think this setup's going to do very well, but obviously I need to get it installed. So I'll get back to you once I'm a little farther in. Obviously I got my plate on here. I got the two screws here. I got this little clamping piece or washer, whatever you want to call it. 2 screws that go down here to nicely securely hold that in. There are 2 nuts on the back side, probably about halfway up this block here, so that when I screw this down like so, it'll grab this very nicely, and we'll have a metal to metal contact to hold it in there really good. Remember, you want to get these bolts nice and tight. However, I wouldn't go too tight because eventually you are going to start eating into the plastic here. So, don't crank it really hard, but give it a nice good snug so that, you have a good connection there. And I'll jump back in right after we get through all that. Thanks, guys.